The 555th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play their fantasy pick'em for a chance to win 100 times your entry in NBA, MLB, MMA, NHL, golf, and more. Sign up today at UnderdogFantasy.com using promo code MMA SGPN to get a 100% deposit match.
Howdy ho, DeGenerinos, and welcome to episode 555 of the MMA Gambling Podcast and the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. This is going out to one of our friends in the Discord, Anags. Good name. Anags 20, I believe is the name. Anags was getting in on some United Fight League action this weekend because we have a bunch of hardcore degens and hardcore MMA fans. I think the gens first, MMA fans second in the Discord. So if that fits your description, more than likely it does. If you're watching and listening to this, then get in the Discord as well, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. I'm in there listed as Jeff Chalks Fox. Although I didn't mention this last episode, I have not been very chalky this year with my UFC picks. I hit all three of them last past week, and I'm up 7% return on investment on my underdog picks this year. So I think it's time for a new name. That's what I think. I don't want any suggestions, though, especially YouTube commenters. I don't need your suggestions.
Well, especially after last week when you pissed them all off. I don't know if you saw how many Gumby is the best comments were under that video. But,
this is Gumby talking to you. Gumby, hello.
It was a couple of them in there, like I predicted there might be.
Gumby's very disingenuous about this, though. Gumby, if you didn't listen carefully, is not a Dragon Ball Z fan as well. He was just kind of defending you people. It's not like
I just didn't trash it. I just said it's not for me. I've
never watched it. I don't know if it's for me. Maybe it is for me. Maybe I've been missing out all these years. But yeah, I'm a big enough nerd without it. I don't think I need to add at Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, Gumby brought out all the Dragon Ball Z people into our YouTube, and
they're already here. They're already here.
They were here. It's true. He outed them. He made this a safe space for Dragon Ball Z fans, and it worked. We have over 500 subscribers now, Gumby, so it worked. Your plan worked.
I'm an inclusive kind of guy.
It's true. Inclusive of all Dragon Ball Z fans. All right. How did the regional MMA go this past weekend, Gumby? I was so busy I didn't get to catch any of it. I was in and out of the Discord a bit. How did it go for you people?
So LFA wound up being kind of weird. Two of the fights fell off that we had broken down, but we swept the other three. Kind of chunky odds on everything, though. There were like real wide odds up in South Dakota, so that was kind of a bummer. And then in UFL, which we also covered last week, I went 3 out of 4. I missed the women's fight early in the night, and I missed the main event. Omon Cosme got knocked out by Hunter Azier, which is bizarre. And again, kind of fat odds everywhere. So if you had bet $100 on every fight, despite going 6-2 on the weekend, you would have been down like $30 or something like that, which is not what you want with a 6-2 night, but it's keeping my win percentage on regional MMA at like almost 70%. So
that is insane.
Yeah, we're rolling.
That's insane. That's the type of spam stuff we used to get in the Discord. People promising returns like that, but this is like legit. You can go back and
I got all
of this.
Yeah, I got the actual number. The actual number right now is 94-49, which is 65.7%. So we're getting.
That's still good though.
That's 2 out of 3. Sorry, I was being a little bit disingenuous with the 70%.
No, you were looking ahead. That's all.
We're getting
looking ahead.
Yeah, we're getting.
We're looking at. Yeah, it makes my 60% on the UFC look like nothing. So anyhow, there's money to be made on the regional scene. If you haven't heard already, I'm guessing that's why you're watching here, and I'm sure at least 2 of you are angry that we haven't given you any picks yet. But like, what do you expect? Do you want us just not even say hi? Just jump right in. Okay, here's who's going to win all the fights.
We just want to say hi.
Yeah,
that's all.
They probably do want that. So what we've been hearing is no chit chat, no ad reads, so no one makes money, and just give you the picks. All right. Anyhow, we're talking about LFA.
Let's give them some picks.
Let's talk about some LFA 183, shall we? It's a Brazil fight card. They're recently they've been stronger than the US fight cards, have they not?
They're very strong. Yeah.
It's almost like they're running almost like a split promotion here. They have a Brazil wing and a US wing. No, you don't often see Yeah, or do you see fighters switching back and forth very often?
Pretty much only when somebody from Brazil wins a title and then
Yeah.
they have to find a way to unify it. Like then they need to
Yeah.
get visas and stuff like that. But like, yeah, outside of that, it almost seems separate to me.
Yeah, this is all Brazil. There's no, I'm going through Tapology because that's how we cap our fights here. We just got Gumby's gotten really lucky all these years tapping off of Tapology, capping off Tapology. All Brazil, every fight, Brazil versus Brazil. Violence is what we're going to do. So Gumby has picked, actually we were going to do 6, but one of the fights fell off, he said, right? I already forgot which fight was it. Which fight are we not doing, Gumby?
I can't remember who was fighting in it, but they got a replacement fighter at like 3-3 for like a 9-0 prospect. And I was like, maybe it's not worth spending your time talking about. So we're going to break down the top 5 fights. I'm pretty sure the fight order is set. So these are actually the top 5 fights. Yeah. So we're going to break down the last 5 fights of the night.
All right. I guess we will get, that's the one issue with regional MMA, that they tend to have last minute changes and screw us up after we've already recorded, don't they? It's
just annoying. Once in a while. But it's we'll survive. The Brazil ones stay together pretty well.
Oh, it was the Marquez fight. So I actually did the stuff for Marquez. The person he is fighting now is Henrique. We're not doing that fight. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Because Henrique's
a king though.
Yeah, but he's 3-3, right? And has lost his last 2.
So Indomitable versus King, and we don't want to break down that fight. Fine. No. All right. So here's what we're doing. We're gonna do, as Gumby said. He already told you. Top 5 and then lightning round. That's our sound effects for lightning round. Zap. Maybe we'll just yell zap like the old Batman show. We're gonna do lightning round. Where you've been successful with those picks too. The picks you just kind of zip through at the end. You've been hitting those, right?
Yeah, I've been doing all right. Better than average, probably.
Did you see the earthquake here on my camera? I'm like, not really an earthquake, but I said zap, and then everything started shaking in here. So, all right, let's break it down. People are really annoyed now, including my co-host. LFA 183. He just wants to do this, so I try to say these names. I think that's the only reason we're covering this event. Cantanhede, is that right? Do you know?
Oh, yeah. Cantanhede versus Guimarães. I thought you were talking about this fight.
No,
by the way.
Guimarães. Cantanhede versus Guimarães. Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Hey, that's where the UFC is this week as well. This is the night before. So these fighters might be fighting for a UFC contract here in front of the bosses. This is Friday night, day before the UFC. 8 p.m. Eastern start time. UFC Fight Pass is the place to go for all of this. 14 fights going down in the Complexo Ribalta, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We are starting things off with Batista and Brito. We talked about this Brito guy yesterday, but it's a different Brito family. He's friends with Joe Anderson on Instagram, so I thought, all right, they must be brothers, but Gumby says they are not. It is featherweights, 3 5-minute rounds. Caionã Batista versus Icaro Brito. Did I say those names correctly?
Yeah.
Caionã. All right. Brito, Fighting Nerds, Gumby's favorite camp. Or your current favorite camp, right?
One of them? It seems to be it.
Oh, we have no odds, correct? I'm correct there as well?
Correct. Yeah.
We are ahead of the odds.
From what I predict to be odds that I can give you guys.
It's usually a midweek thing for the odds for LFA, right? I think,
Wednesday-ish. Yep.
Yeah. All right. We'll see how Gumby does with his predictions. If he's off, then money could be made. But yeah, you can ask us in the Discord or in our YouTube comments, as people have been doing. And Gumby is very quick to get back to you because he has no life. All right, Brito, 7-1, 5 knockouts, never been finished in a fight, 1-0 in LFA. He's won 6 straight fights, including his last fight via knockout. He's not lost since February 2020, the halcyon days of February 2020. 4 years younger than Batista, 3 inches taller. Blade Batista. That's a cool name. Blade Batista. I like it. 12-6 with 1 no contest. 5 knockouts, 5 submissions. So very dangerous fighter. He's been knocked out twice, submitted twice. He owes his rounds. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it. This man owes his rounds. This is his LFA debut. He's lost 2 straight fights. Not exactly what you want to come in on your debut. A streak you're going in on here. 1 of his last 4 have seen him get his hand raised. So 1-3, 0-2. Both of his past 2 losses have come via submission. He's not won since October 2020. Used to fight at bantamweight, was a regional champion, and that is all the info I have.
Yeah, this fight is tailor-made for Brito. I think you're going to see him like negative 450. Batista used to be a bantamweight and is probably better suited for that weight class because he is short. He's only 5'7", not 4'7", 5'7".
4'7" would be a short king.
Yeah, he's still a short king at 5'7", I think, at featherweight. And the biggest problem with that is how good Brito fights from distance too. Because he is really long and he gets into range and gets out of range really quick. It's really hard to counter him because how quickly he's in and out. He doesn't stay around to get hit again. And against a guy who's shorter, that's going to be a problem. Also, even if Batista tries to like brawl to get in range here too, Brito's got pretty good wrestling and he's got really good counters. Like in his last fight, he hit his opponent with I believe it was a counter left. Although I don't remember exactly because he is a stance switcher. Like he hit him with a really mean counter left and dropped him. And I just think, Batista being shorter, he doesn't really extend on his punches. I mean, this is a tailor-made fight for Brito. So negative 450, hopefully a little bit closer so you could slide him in some parlays. But this should be one-way traffic for Brito all day.
Boo for the big odds. But hey, you never know. Usually it seems to go the other way. If you're off on the odds, it seems to be the direction. Well, I guess occasionally you get underdogs that you're surprised about, but a lot of times the odds are wider than we hope for. So we'll see though once they open, and if it's a good line, steam it and then make it bad for everybody else. That's what we do. That's what us and our friends in the Discord do. All right, we're going to bantamweights now. Marlon, Basílio, Vinicius, Pires. I think it's How do you want to say this? Pires. 3 5-minute rounds, 135 pounds. Pires 8-1 with 1 no contest, 3 submissions. He's been submitted once himself. 2-0 with 1 no contest in the LFA. That's part of a 7-0 with 1 no contest winning streak. I guess you would call that non-losing streak. No contest was his last fight. He's not lost a fight since April 2019. He's fight at flyweight, 1 inch taller than Basílio. 9-1, 8 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been submitted once. The only time he's been stopped. He's finished everyone else. He owes his rounds. 0-1 in LFA, 2-0 over his last 2. Both of them have come via TKO. Used to fight down at flyweight, up at featherweight. 0-1 is a pro grappler. 0-1 is a pro boxer. Gumby's going to tell you if he's going to pick him now.
So I think this fight's going to be a pick 'em. These guys are right around the same level. Also, do you know who Basílio's lone loss to is? That submission you mentioned?
No. No.
Quadruple golden champion Matsumoto.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like he's faced a good level of competition. And it actually makes a lot of sense that Matsumoto is the guy to beat him too. Because if you watch Basílio, like he's got like nice combinations. I want to say he has like a touch of knockout power, but I'm actually not impressed by like the knockout power on most of his punches. Like it seems like he decides when to like dispatch the power. And other than that, he's just like touching you. But I do really like his wrestling game. Like he gets after it. And so it makes perfect sense that he lost to Matsumoto because Matsumoto could stuff the wrestling and not particularly worry about the power coming back the other way and turn it up. Pires himself likes to wrestle. But I have a lot less faith in the takedowns I've seen from him. A lot of it is like upper body stuff, him trying to like drag his opponent to the mat. I've seen him fail a bunch of times doing stuff like that. I also don't really like the trip game he's got because it seems like, again, he's putting himself at risk of being countered, especially against a guy like Basílio, like who I think has, he could probably counter that wrestling into a better position himself. So I like Basílio from the wrestling standpoint. I think the volume's going to be good enough because Pires likes to move forward, but Basílio doesn't strike me as a guy who's going to be back down because of that. Like, I think he's still going to come forward too. You might just see a ton of extra clinches. And as I said, I kind of like the wrestling of Basílio. So I'm going to take Marlon Basílio here. My guess is pick him because the lines are, or the records are pretty close looking and they both had like similar success recently. So yeah, I'll go Basílio.
Excellent. Are you proud of me? I didn't make any jokes, but Basílio being a silly name, Gumby. Good, right? I'm maturing.
You're doing so great.
All right. You said it was gonna be a pick 'em, right? So we're gonna give you like minus. All right. We'll give you
110, 150, probably 115 if it's in the offshores.
Yeah. All right. There you go. We got you a couple picks. And now I'm going to tell you about a place where you can have some more fun playing fantasy sports this time. It would be Underdog Fantasy. The NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interesting Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. You make entries of all basketball or mix and match across your other favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. Like I said, it's even more fun if you win 100 times your money, I would guess. Underdog is available in 30 plus states, including California, Texas, and famed U.S. state, Canada. Check it out. Very easy and intuitive to use. Higher or lower, basically on stats for whatever sport you want. And pretty much all the key players and or fighters will be on there as well. As I mentioned, it's available in 30 plus states, and they've also just launched Champions, their player versus player format in Florida. Next, I think it's going to be player versus Gator is what they're going to move into next, but we're going to start with player versus player in Florida first. So make sure you sign up with our code MMA SGPN. And Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. This Underdog Fantasy promo code MMA SGPN. The Gator jokes are never going to end, Gumby. I'm just going to keep drilling them because that's what dads do. They stick with one joke and they just drill it into the ground until it's not funny, even if it wasn't funny to begin with. All right, middleweights, shall we move to? We shall. Lucas Fernando, João, Paulo Silva. 3 5-minute rounds, 185 pounds. Silva, JP is his nickname. Boo. I disapprove of initial nicknames. 8-2. 5 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. He owes his rounds. A lot of people owe his rounds. This is going to be a long night. 1-1 in LFA. He's won 2 straight and 5 of 6. 4 straight wins have come via finish. He used to fight down at welterweight. Fernando, 9-3, 5 knockouts, 2 submissions. Never been finished in a fight. 4-1 in LFA. Used to be the champion of LFA. He's lost 2 straight, though, since then. Before that, he had won 4 straight. He lost in the Contender Series as one of his losses, so he's 0-1 in Contender Series. Used to fight at welterweight as well. 5 years younger than Silva, 4 inches of reach on him. Go ahead.
So I'm going to go, I think Lucas Fernando probably negative 200 here. And look, I've got tons of concerns about Lucas Fernando. It looked like he was UFC material up until he got onto Contender Series. Then he, for some reason, had trouble grappling with Cesar Almeida, who's a kickboxer, a 3-0 kickboxer, went in there and grappled the hell out of him. And then, of course, then they give him the title defense against Bekoev if you had trouble grappling a kickboxer, Bekoev is not the guy you want to see immediately after it. And it seems like that's kind of his ceiling, right? It's like he's going to have trouble with the wrestlers. The big news here, though, is this is not a wrestler he's fighting. He's fighting JP Silva. And JP Silva, is 100% like a Walmart, the Kirkland brand version of Lucas Fernando.
Callback.
This is Kirkland brand Lucas Fernando. He's really tall for a middleweight. I can't believe he ever used to make welterweight. He's a really tall middleweight. And he does all the tall guy things that you would hate. And, like Lucas Fernando is a tall guy and he has bad wrestling, but like he doesn't do the tall guy things. He doesn't do weird leaning. He doesn't, keep his chin way up in the air. Not the typical tall guy defense issues. It's just like, being really tall at middleweight sometimes gets you taken down. JP Silva does all the weird tall guy things. He leans, he goes way forward when he jabs, his chin stays up in the air, and he doesn't like to wrestle. So like it seems like he is a tailor-made opponent for Lucas Fernando. I think Lucas Fernando's number is not going to get out of control here, despite the fact that I think this is a great fight for him, because we've watched him look terrible 2 fights in a row. And everybody can clearly see the way that you beat this guy now. I just think you should also look at JP Silva and watch his fights and say, oh yeah, he's not going to be able to do any of those things. So I'll take Fernando here. Like I said, at negative 200 probably. And I'd say he's, if he gets into the 100s, I'd probably play him straight up.
All right, there you go. He even tells you the range to play him in. Word to the wise, if you want to be Gumby's friend, don't lean. No leaners allowed, right?
Not when striking. If you're dancing, you can do
lean back.
You can do Fat Joe. Yeah, you can be Fat Joe.
Fat Joe. This is all about the callbacks. You're calling back a lot of old bits of ours, which is good.
Did we used to talk about Fat Joe a lot?
We did before. We talked about lean back and Fat Joe. Yeah, we did.
Is he problematic? Should we not be talking about Fat Joe?
I think the only issue is tax evasion, perhaps. So
okay. I don't care about cheating on your taxes.
Well, I'm doing my taxes almost as we speak, as we're talking here. I may be doing my taxes. They are due very, very soon. So white collar crime, thumbs up. We're saying blue collar crime, thumbs down.
No comment.
He hit someone with a baseball bat. Do you have an issue with that?
He hit somebody with a baseball bat?
Fat Joe and Big Pun, rest in peace, were arrested on assault charges for hitting a man with a baseball bat and stealing the man's gold chain. Oh, it was for a gold chain. That's cool.
That's probably problematic. Maybe we don't dedicate the next episode to Fat Joe.
Yeah, tax evasion. Yeah. He may be anti-LGBT too. So yeah, Fat Joe is not getting an episode. We are an inclusive.
So I told you we were worried about Fat Joe possibly being problematic.
even if you're a Dragon Ball Z nerd, we're an inclusive podcast here because we are armless armless lefty leaning cucks or whatever we were called before. There's another callback.
I don't remember. Oh yeah, we got we threw around some names. Somebody threw around some names, getting real mad at us one time.
Yeah. Because we were anti-school shooting. I think that's what sets someone off. You never know. You never know what's going to set people off. Anyhow, it's a fun time to be online, isn't it? All right, let's go to the co-main event, shall we? Flavio di Queiroz. Sounds like I'm being like Fat Joe here. I'm not saying slurs. I'll let you know. I'm not leaning back and saying Queiroz. Marcus Degli. Usually, you're not helping me at all here.
I think it's Degli, and it's Queiroz.
Degli, Kalindra Faria is his spouse, wife, girlfriend, coach.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there you go. I'm up on these things. All right, because I look what fight camp he's from. I'm like, I recognize that name. Anyhow, let's do 3 5 rounds at flyweight before I get myself into trouble here. Let's move on, shall we? Telandes. Do you know what that means? Degli's nickname. Thai. Is he from Thailand? Does he have Thailand in him? Thai in him, perhaps?
I wouldn't be surprised if he had some Thai boxing background.
Yeah. So that's his nickname. His nickname's Thai, and that's how you say it in Portuguese. Telandes. 10-3. 5 knockouts, 4 submissions. He's been submitted once. This is another man that owes his rounds. Like I said, this is gonna be a long event, Gumby. Everyone owes his rounds here. He's won 2 straight and in the LFA, 2-0 in LFA, and 8 straight overall. He's not lost since April of 2022. Nice little run going here. He used to fight at bantamweight 9 years younger. There's a big thing over to Queiroz, an inch of height. I said his name wrong again today. Flavino. Queiroz. I'm gonna call him Flavino. His nickname is Flavino. So little Flavio, I guess, is what that translates to, right?
Yeah.
All right. I guess he's little, right? He's 14-4, 9 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's been knocked out twice. Yeah, he owes his rounds as well. Debut. This is his debut in LFA. He's won 2 straight. Before that, he lost 2 straight. Both of his past 2 wins have come via knockout or TKO. He's not lost a fight since August 2021. He used to fight at bantamweight, was regional champion, 2013 pro MMA debut. Take it away.
So Degli, being the LFA vet, is probably going to come in here -230, -240. He was a slight favorite in his last fight. I only remember because I picked against him and he won. And I had the dog. But I'm going to side with Queiroz here. Here's what I like about him and why I think it's a problem for Degli. Queiroz, I wouldn't say he's got the best wrestling in the world, but if he's got you up against the cage and he works to get the hands underneath, he's relentless in chaining stuff together and continuing to work for it. And can he necessarily hold you down right after? Not necessarily, but he does a good job of getting you back to the cage and working and changing it to a single, changing it to a double, trying to get his hands together, working. And he pairs that with a really good gas tank. Now, the problem I have with Degli is if you watched his last fight, he did a really good job of stuffing those takedowns early in the fight. And then as the fight went on, he looked more and more tired, and his sharp striking, which I think is sharper than D. Queiroz, is like it started to falter as well. Like he started to get tired. His striking slowed down. He failed on stopping some takedowns. So I think this is totally a fight where Flavio is going to come out here and look like the worst fighter in the first, but put in a whole bunch of work that's going to then pay off in the second and third rounds. And then I think you're going to see him have a really great second and or third round and steal this one. So I like the dog money here on D. Queiroz. I'm going to say it's probably going to come in at like 2-1, probably like plus 200 here.
Nice.
And I think, again, if he winds up throwing up a dud of the first round where you're like, all he's doing is leaning on him, know that is going to help later on. They don't typically have live odds on LFA, but like if they did, D. Queiroz would be like a live odd hit.
All right, there you go. About time you get us a dog, Gumby. It's been a while. I guess Basílio, maybe, he's going to be close.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe you could be off. Maybe all of them are going to be dogs. There's going to be a fantastic evening for us. Who's to say? All right. One thing I do know for sure is if you're looking for a proxy, I got the place for you. Thinking of entering the Circa Survivor or Circa Millions contest, but don't live in Nevada. No problem. It's very easy to hire a proxy to submit the picks for you each week for your chance to win millions. Sign up in Las Vegas and then just submit your picks to your proxy. We partnered up with the gold standard of proxies over at footballcontestproxy.com. Plus, if you use the promo code SGP, like what my hat says, at checkout, you'll save $50 off the proxy fees. That's right. Just go to footballcontestproxy.com. That's footballcontestproxy.com, promo code SGP to get $50 off. Notice SGP hat, not Phoenix Suns, because they're a bunch of losers.
They're like still in it.
Who's to say? This is Monday, Gumby.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they lost they won last night. Kevin Durant got 75 points and they won.
He might get 75 and they might still lose.
They might. It's true. It's true. We don't need to talk about depressing things now. We have our main event. Here's another name I could say incorrectly and people will get mad at me, right? the first name of one of this person's.
Naizi.
Naizi. Naizi. Let's make that be clear. Cantanhede. You already told me. Cantanhede. She's a strawweight. She's fighting possibly 3 5-minute rounds against Yasmin Guimarães. Have we talked about her before? Guimarães. Have we talked about her before? His name seems familiar. Maybe I'm thinking of the Yasmin Lucindo, perhaps. All right, Guimarães, 7-1, 1 knockout, 1 submission, never been finished in any fight. This is her debut in LFA. She won 4 straight fights, including her last one via TKO. Used to fight up at flyweight and up at bantamweight. 2-0 in KSW as well. So she's had some pretty high-level experience outside of her LFA debut here. 4 inches taller than Cantanhede, 6 inches reach. This is massive for strawweight. That much of a difference. Cantanhede Malvada is a nickname. We've had nicknames like this before. Do you remember what it means?
Evil.
Yes, correct. 7-0. So we got a couple of ladies with nice records here. 7-0, 1 knockout, 2 submissions, 1-0 in LFA. Regional champion, 3 inches taller than Guimarães. Go right ahead. Take it away.
So I think Cantanhede is going to come in here as a favorite, probably negative 185, 190. You're going to see like plus 170, 175 on the return for Guimarães. And I actually like Guimarães in this fight.
There we
I'm
go.
Go dog to end here. I think she's going to be a dog just because we're looking at an undefeated record and a not undefeated record. We're talking about somebody who came from LFA and somebody who didn't come from LFA. Like those are all the indicators we need. But Guimarães is somebody who, when she throws to hurt you. There's not a single punch she's throwing that is not trying to do damage on your head. And it's mostly head hunting, to be completely fair. Like she doesn't even work to the body all that much. I watched her fights and I was like, that's not usually the type of fighter I like to back. But Cantanhede is, I think, a touch slower on the feet, despite being much more technical. And I don't know that matters, though, because she's going to be, the more technical part isn't going to matter because she is going to be so much slower. She does seem to want to grapple all the time, but being less powerful than like Guimarães does seem like she has to be way stronger than Cantanhede. I think she's going to have a big strength advantage. So like, I think Cantanhede is going to have a really tough time taking Guimarães down. Being that she's going to have to stand in front of her and trade. And like I said, she's probably going to be the more technical one, but she's slower. I don't really trust her striking defense. And Guimarães, she hits like a truck. I mean, she throws absolute bombs when she throws. So, I like her chances to just sort of like sway the judges with big shots in at least 2 of the rounds. So I'm going to go with Guimarães here and end with another dog.
All right, there we go. That's what you'd like to see. Finishing up strong. He was holding out on us here. All right, let's recap. And then we got lightning round. Crash, zap, boom. Guimarães, how do you say the name again? The Queiroz. Is that better?
Yes, much better.
Queiroz. Much better than sounding like I'm saying a slur. Fernando, Basílio with the silly name, Fusili Jerry, and Brito. All right. Before we have any more problematic Fat Joe callbacks, let's get to the lightning round. We got another 9 fights on this card. One of them, Gumby, I already know you don't like because we scratched it from our breakdown here. Anyone else on this card that you're interested in? Anyone you think has a good matchup or odds are going to be in our favor for?
So there's 2 fights that I'm particularly interested in, both because I'm interested in the women as prospects and also because if they come in any number that's bettable, like jump on them before they get steamed up. And the first one's Gabby Fujimoto. I think her fight is maybe too winnable to the point where you're going to see her on kind of nasty odds. But I really do like her grappling and her top control game. I think it's exceptionally good. She's really fast, really young, seems like the kind of prospect the UFC is going to be all over. If she can grab 2 fights before Contender Series in the fall, I think she's a shoe-in. She could come in at like 6-0 with a win here and one more, and then come October, I definitely see her as somebody that the UFC could come calling for. And then another one they could come calling for is Natalia Alves, who is the 5th fighting nerd who's fighting this weekend. And she is, man, it's kind of interesting how that gym just like doesn't have an archetype of what their fighters look like, right? Because you got the lock dogs throwing just absolute bombs, and Gian Silvas who are like kind of madmen on the feet. Natalia Alves is so tough on the ground. Like her grappling game, top notch, really heavy wrestling, great top positioning. She lands really good ground and pound. She looks for submissions. Like, I like so much of what she does on the ground. She's still got to kind of like round herself out as like a good striker. Like I'm not completely sold on her future either, but she's again, like similar to Fujimoto, like she's 5-0. I think a win here could have her on a short list of people you might see on the Contender Series too. So, I like both Fujimoto and Alves as potential. If they come in at a good number, keep an eye out for them because they both wrestle exceptionally well.
And as he often does, he answered my follow-up question. Will there be anyone here that UFC brass will be excited about? And he told you. So there you go.
Well, and I'll also say the UFC brass will be in on. So like this card, I don't particularly see anybody who like the UFC would be like, oh, stick that guy in a Contender Series with a win outside of Icaro Brito. I think Icaro Brito, I would be absolutely shocked if Icaro Brito was not on Contender Series in the fall.
Very, very good. Yeah, we have dates. It's coming up soon. Only a few more months to go until it's Tuesday night miracle time. So, all right, there is your LFA 183 all set up for you. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. We'll be back tomorrow. We got more regional stuff. Octagon, a favorite of a lot of you on YouTube. We'll be covering Octagon tomorrow. In the meantime, we'll be in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. You can reach us in the comment section of our videos here on MMA Gambling Podcast on YouTube. If you could subscribe, that would help even more. Get our subscriber numbers up. Twitter, SGPN MMA. He's at Gumby Vreeland. I'm at Jeff Fox Writer there and on Instagram. Get in my Substack, enter my pick'em contest for this weekend's UFC pay-per-view. You can enter that for free. And check out the Substack, moneymma.substack.com. Check out Gumby's other podcasts, minus me, Top Turtle MMA podcast. Do we know who's on it this week? Is it a surprise? What's going on?
Yeah, no, I mean, we've been tooting at the Fighting Nerds all day. So,
right.
You obviously know Cabo Ohio is on this week's episode. And I've got an Octagon guest for this week. Mate Sanakadidze, who is one of the fighters we'll be covering on tomorrow's episode.
Easy for you to say. Mate Sanakadidze. That's a good name. I like it. Where's
Mate Sanakadidze?
Where's he from?
Georgia. Yeah, he's another one of the awesome Georgian prospects.
Right. Very good name. You're saying Fighting Nerds doesn't have a distinct feature to them, characteristic. They're nerds. Is that not enough?
I mean,
they're
maybe
nerds, they're nerds and they fight. They like Dragon Ball Z, probably.
And I actually, just for the record, too, if you need more enticement to go listen to the Top Turtle MMA podcast, Kai Ohio talks about Icaro Brito and what a giant nerd he is, which is pretty great.
Kai Ohio, one of the best people Gumby has on that podcast, I would say. Always entertaining, friendly, open, and a good translator for Bruna Brazil.
Yeah,
there you go. He can do it all. He can do it all. All right. I didn't hype up everything. I told you, Mothership, I got to tell you about. Sportsgamblingpodcast.com obviously is the place to go for all our ratings, our discounts, our giveaways, all that good stuff's there. Sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store if you want to dress cool, like us cool dads on this tier show. Sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon so you can help us keep the corporate wolves at bay. All right, Gumby, how about you bid everyone farewell while we get ready to do an Octagon episode?
All right, I'm Danny Gumby Freeland. He's Evil Jeff Fox, and we will see you tomorrow.